Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our daily fiqh hour. We have a theme already planned, but just before we get onto the theme, just to remind you, inshallah, tomorrow we will be focusing on Masail of Ramadan, as I said, before Ramadan starts. So we'll discuss those. And then on Sunday, obviously, we will be making the announcement for Ramadan. So I will just bring you up to speed as to what we're hearing, what we're not hearing as well throughout the globe, whether announcements have been made. And also I'll share the my schedule with you over Ramadan and what will be happening with fiqh hour over Ramadan. So that's the plan, inshallah, for Saturday and Sunday. And then obviously we turn our attention to Monday. But today's was going to be on the role of miracles. But in order to do this justice, I need to get to the message that was sent to me. Where is the message? The message. All right, where is it? Yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, that's not it. Oh, there it goes. So this is it. Get the full details. So what is the role of miracles in confirming the authenticity of prophethood in Islam? How do miracles challenge or reinforce our understanding of natural laws and divine intervention? Can ordinary people perform miracles, or are the miraculous events reserved for prophets and saints? And how do skeptics and rationalists reconcile the concept of miracles with scientific principles and empirical evidence? Quite a bit of a mouthful. So let's start. Okay. What are miracles? Firstly, miracles which are performed at the hands of the Anbiya, then these, and I mentioned this at the outset, is only due through the permission of Allah. We have to understand that these miracles are not performed from the individual themselves, yani that they have performed them, or that it has come at somebody's behest, requested it, and they've performed it on request. This is complete and utterly from Allah, and only performed through a human. So it's not as though the human is the actual one who is performing or initiating that miracle, but rather he is just a conduit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's intervening on earth. So this shows that this is what sometimes is referred to as divine intervention, where you're seeing a direct involvement, even though we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is the maintainer of all the worlds. But here you'll see a direct involvement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world. What purpose do miracles serve? The purpose that miracles serve is to ratify and prove and provide evidence to the onlookers, the viewers, the people who are there, that this person who is coming and making this claim that he is a prophet is truly a prophet. Because you will not be able to do what this person has done through divine intervention. And there's numerous examples of that. One very visible example is when the magicians gathered against Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and this was somewhat of a competition, and this was somewhat of a duel between the magicians and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And as they thought that he can only be a sorcerer, he can only be a magician, he can only be an illusionist. Obviously, they did not believe at that time. Then he can only do what we can do. So they tried the usual thing of converting ropes into fooling people that they look like snakes, or taking staffs and sticks and making people, casting illusion on the eyes of the people through the sleight of the hand and swiftness of the hand. And they thought that this was a trick that can be played on humans. But when Musa alayhi salam performed this miracle, which, if you remember, from the time it was demonstrated to him by Allah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs him, I paraphrase, to cast down his staff, and he sees the staff turning into a writhing serpent, and then he's told to pick it back up again, then this was clearly not in the control of Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam did not say, oh, I'm going to turn this staff into a snake. In fact, he was as surprised as anyone else would have been when that staff turned into a serpent. So again, that's a miracle where something breaks the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. These are laws of Allah. These are sometimes referred to as the sunnah of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things in a certain way. This is his methodology. This is his practice. This is his way. And he has set these laws in the world in order for the world to work in a certain way, whether it's ionic bonding, covalent bonding, the way the electrons are in the electronic configuration, the way, magnets attract, the way the moon orbits the earth, the way the earth orbits the sun, the way the solar system orbits in the Milky Way. All this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed laws of physics in order for that to happen. And I'll just explain it, the laws of chemistry. When we see something, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to demonstrate his power, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to demonstrate his intervention in this dunya, then he will do something which will make the law go against the laws of physics, go against the laws of chemistry, go against the laws of biology. So when we see, for instance, a staff which is obviously made of wood turning into a live serpent, which is made of, a carbon structure animal, which can obviously bite and eat and what a normal animal would do, and then convert it back into a stick, that goes against all the laws of biology. There is nobody who is going to say to you that can be possible biologically. Absolutely not. And similarly, when Musa alayhi salam goes and demonstrates that, it just cannot. Furthermore, we see, for example, Isa alayhi salam, when he makes the dead rise from the ground. Again, we know biologically that once the soul has left the body, then that's it. That human has started to disintegrate and deteriorate and start to break down into raw constituents. Then we know there is no way that's going to come back to life again. It's proven 100 times out of 100 that when someone dies, they don't come back to life. So for Allah subhanahu to prove to the onlookers that this was a man with his message, he could bring that dead to life. Like he could take some soil and fashion it into the shape of a bird and blow in it, and it would fly off as a bird flying in the sky. So how soil does not turn into a living organic creature. It's, you 100 times out of 100, you go out into your front garden and start digging up some mud and making it into the shape of a bird and throw it in the air. 100 times out of 100, that soil will fall back down on your face. Why? Because that's the laws of physics, gravity. That's the laws of biology. Soil does not turn into a living bird. But again, in order for Allah to intervene and demonstrate to the people that this man is true in his statement, that he has been sent from Allah, then these miracles were performed. And likewise, our Prophet, ﷺ, when he performed miracles, whether that be a small quantity of food being generated to such an extent that many could benefit from it, whether it was a small quantity of water. And obviously we saw, for instance, the splitting of the moon, which again goes against all laws of physics, that a human stood on Earth could split the moon, which is, whatever, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. So this is, and so the role that the miracles have is to convince the onlookers that what this man is claiming, because that man would be claiming to be speaking to God, be speaking to Allah, and being an emissary, being an ambassador from Allah to the people in order to give them a message, that this message is coming to you from Allah, and he says this to you. And naturally, people are going to say, yeah, right, what? Did he really? Okay, or are you making this up? Are you a sorcerer? Are you a magician? Are you after power? Are you delusional? Is there something wrong with you? Are you mentally unstable? Have you just stolen this from other people? So, the natural is that people will not believe unless they have pure hearts and sound minds. So in order to show to people that he is the truthful one, that he has been sent from Allah, the Anbiya would perform miracles. So that's the role of miracles in confirming the authenticity and prophethood in Islam. The next bit was, how do miracles challenge or reinforce our understanding of natural laws and divine intervention? So I think I've kind of captured that already, so I'm not going to revisit that. Can ordinary people perform miracles, or are miraculous events reserved for prophets and saints? As I said previously, miracles aren't necessarily performed by the individual. It's not as though a person will sit and say, you know what, I'm going to walk on water, watch, and off he goes and he walks on water. This is not something that they can choose to do. This is something which is divine intervention into our worldly affairs, a direct and visible and absolutely apparent intervention by Allah for the people to see. So, yes, it was obvious that it had to occur for Anbiya. It was a tool in their arsenal in order to convince, a tool rather, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used in order Islam. When it comes to awliya, when awliya will do certain things that is norm. It's not always, because we've heard these stories also from within Buddhism and Hinduism and other faiths as well, where they do things which go against the laws of nature. So we shouldn't be too much involved in hearing statements like that and buying into it. However, we accept that the awliya, because they are close to Allah, they have been given access, or divine intervention can also take place through them. Again, not by their choice, or not at their beck and call, or at their will, when Allah chooses to do so. When you mean by ordinary people, I'm assuming you mean like, normal person, average guy. Then Allah SWT tends, I'm not speaking on Allah SWT's behalf, but we don't necessarily have that explained to us, that these can be performed by normal people. That doesn't restrict Allah from allowing that to happen. But generally speaking, that person who is far away from Allah, they will not be a vehicle or an instrument for Allah to show his miraculous, show his miracles to the people. Rather, Allah will choose those people who are close to him. So that I just mentioned there that you see within Buddhism and Hinduism, these kind of ajib traits going on as well. So our ulama tell us that this is usually due to satanic influences. This is usually due to either jinni influences or satanic influences, where Allah has given qudrat and power to those individuals to be able to do things which go against the norms. We'll see, for example, when the Dajjal arrives, he'll be able to cut a human in half and put him back together again. Okay, so that's obviously miraculous, isn't it? It's not the normal. It's going against the laws of biology. It goes against those laws and laws of chemistry. However, he will demonstrate it to us. So that shows that we shouldn't be fooled by miracles being performed by the humans now. Obviously, what the Anbiya did, that's a different thing. But what we see now, we need to be careful about that, unless we know this person to be of a sound faith in their practice. Last bit was, how do skeptics and rationalists reconcile the concept of miracles with scientific principles and empirical evidence? Well, they don't. That's the simple sum of it all. Skeptics, in their terminology, is they're skeptical. So they do not accept anything that cannot be proven through using empirical, design and empirical evidence. They will not accept it. If it cannot be measured, if it cannot be assessed, if it cannot be valued, then they won't. And similarly, there are certain questions which is outside the remit of rationalists. Like, for example, does Allah exist? They cannot measure that. It's something which is not measurable. So there's certain questions which science cannot answer. And the only problem we have now is, rationalists and, men of science, because they're coming from a background of atheism, feel that they need to answer every and all questions. And I just had a quick list which I'm going to share with you, that even to this day, scientists cannot answer. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a list that I managed to get together literally 5 minutes before I came on this live. So, for example, one of the biggest things is what is the universe made of? Right? What is the universe made of? Now, you may not know this, but most of the matter in the universe is actually unseeable and untouchable, and to this day has not been discovered. It is called dark matter. The mass of what is visible and measurable does not account for all the mass in the universe. Okay, so basically, we don't know what's out there in a nutshell. Because at the moment we cannot touch it, we cannot measure it, we cannot assess it. So therefore, science can't answer that question. But they know it exists. They know it exists. They believe it exists because things don't add up. So similarly, like we believe, so these are rationalist, atheist scientists who will say to you that guess what? The universe, we cannot understand the universe. Why? Because the stars and the galaxies and the planets and all the rest of it that are out there, they do not account for total mass of what is out there. In fact, it is a small value that all the stars in the universe, all the galaxies, all the planets, everything, if you added, and all the satellites, I don't mean the artificial satellites, I mean the satellites like moons, you add all that weight up, and it's only a very small amount for the total weight of the universe. So then when you ask them, okay, then what's the rest of the universe? They will say, we don't know. And if you say, why don't you know? They say, because we can't see it, we can't measure it, we can't touch it, we can't even discover it. So then you should say, so why do you accept it's there? They said, because it does not make sense if it was not there. So similarly, as believers, we say that we cannot touch Allah, we cannot see Allah, okay? We cannot discover Allah through scientific empirical means. However, we also believe and we know that everything cannot exist without him. Therefore, he exists, but we just can't make it. So that, that, and that's just one, as I said, point. Again, scientists will not be able to answer how the earth will end. They know, obviously, the universe will end. They know the universe is expanding, constantly expanding because of the distance that the stars are moving at. So therefore, eventually, if something has a beginning, that's where the Big Bang comes from. If something has a beginning and it continues to stretch, okay, if it has a beginning and it continues to stretch, then eventually it will have an ending. How will that end? Again, they don't know. Again, as believers, we will say, well, we know how it's going to end because we've been told how it's going to end. Okay, we've not got the specifics in the scientific way, but we've been explained how that's going to go about. The moon, for example, we're going to be looking for the hilal on Sunday night to see if we can spot the hilal of Ramadan. But the moon, again, astronauts have brought back, originally it was thought that the moon was probably made out of very similar material to what the earth is made out of. Some people even said that it was basically an asteroid may have hit the earth in the early stages and a chunk of earth went and it didn't go too far. And all these kind of wacky stories, and it stayed as a satellite around earth, and that's what it is. However, when there was the lunar landing and they brought some rocks back from there, the problem they had is that the type of rock was a very, very special kind of rock. And this special kind of rock is unusual when I describe it to you. First of all, it's very glittery and it's very bright. And ajib is that it is reflective. That is the reason why you can see the moon shine white at night. If it had not been made out of that material, you would not see it, or you would barely see it. So it's just as though Allah has created it in such a way that we can see it at night, and it's made out of this material. So now they're saying the type of amount of energy that would be required to make that, the amount of energy is going to be so high, they don't even know how that's possibly how the moon was made. And that's just something on our doorstep. Okay, they still cannot answer how did life start on earth. Yeah, and as I said, I'm just going to go over these as well. Similarly, Venus and Earth are considered to be roughly, should have been exactly the same. Should have been exactly the same. Yet Earth is inhabitable, but the Venus is impossible. It is the surface temperature is 900 degrees Fahrenheit. 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, which is, like 10 times the temperature of normal Earth temperature. The clouds, which we have rain in them, the clouds hold sulfuric acid. Okay, so why is it that these two planets who are so close to each other, that should have been exactly the same, one planet is completely uninhabitable, impossible, and yet the other one is pleasantly inhabitable? Why? Well, again, we know the answer to that. It's because Allah's created the earth for us to live on. Otherwise, he would have created Venus for us to live on. He didn't. He created Earth for us to live on. But again, the liberal, the atheist scientists cannot answer that. And, as I said, I can go on as well. One unusual that I found, for example, is that certain plants, okay, in South America have the ability to copy the shape of the leaves of plants near it. Now, scientists cannot understand how that's possible. How is it possible for a plant to imitate and mimic the leaves of plants around it? How? How does it do that? And they cannot answer it. What, does the plant have eyes or something? And the plant then sees, okay, all the plants around me have got like spherical leaves, so I'm going to have spherical leaves as well. All the plants around me have thin, so I'm going to have thin. How does a plant know to mimic in that way? But if you're an atheist, you cannot answer it. And like I said, I've only given a few examples to kind of just get an idea of what it's about. So just because scientists cannot explain miracles, the whole point of this was that just because scientists cannot explain miracles through empirical evidence or using scientific principles, we shouldn't be too alarmed at that and think, oh, how am I going to explain to somebody, a non-Muslim, the story of the Buraq, where the Prophet ﷺ rode this mount from Mecca to Baitul Maqdis and then the seven heavens. How am I going to explain that to someone? We get a bit panicky because it's a miracle, isn't it? It's not normal, is it? Well, look at all those things I've mentioned that to this day scientists cannot explain. So just add this to their list of things they can't explain. It's not a problem. Okay, so that covers. Let me just going to jump on to see if there's any questions that have come on that topic. How important is follow steps? Stop symbols. Nope. Is it okay to pause? Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on Muslim women trimming hair if it's split ended at the bottom? Okay, so no questions with regards to the topic, the theme. So what I'll do next, inshallah, is to start answering the questions which are coming through via the various platforms. So assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. How important is it to follow the stop symbols in the Quran? The Indo-Pakh script has different stops to the Medina script besides the meme and the actual ayah. Is it okay to not pause, stroke pause, and repeat back? Jazakallah. I would think that the main stops where the ayah comes to the end and where you have the meme would be pretty standard in most mushafs. I would be surprised if that's not the case. Waqf is 1/3 of tajweed. Yani one is makhraj or makharij. The second one is sifa or sifat. And the third one is waqf or awqaf. These three join together to make the whole science of tajweed. Now, I know we give a lot of time and attention to makhraj. We give some time to sifa. We give hardly any time to waqf. And that's not correct. I know I'm generalizing. Of course, some people will do, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying generally speaking, that tends to be the case. And waqf is as important as anything else. So yeah, it is, and we have to break breath in some places, not just pause. And many of us don't break breath, or we break breath in the wrong place. So, there should be some rules written in the mushaf that you have in terms of what each symbol references. And therefore, you should take that seriously rather than thinking I have choice here and I'm going to stop here or I'm not going to stop here. Unless, obviously, you know the meaning of the Quran, then it's not as problematic because you will know where the right place is to stop. But it's not just that you know the meaning of the Quran, you also have some understanding of what this verse is referring to, and therefore you won't be making any errors there. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. What is the ruling on Muslim women trimming hair if it's split ended at the bottom? I have explained this in the other video, which is called manlyhood and girlyhood, fashion, blah blah, whatever. It's got a nice funky title, one of the themes that we did. So if you go onto this YouTube channel, you'll find that, and the answer is in there, inshallah. What I'm going to do, obviously, is I'm going to not answer every single question, especially ones that I've answered previously. So, all the good work that I've done, alhamdulillah, people, access those videos as well, because they're all on the channel. Assalamu alaikum. I have a Hanafi fiqh question. It is sunnah for men to place their hands below the navel when in salah. Is the sunnah at least practiced when putting it beneath the navel under the chest? Assalamu alaikum. I have a Hanafi fiqh question. Far as I know, it is sunnah for men to place their hands below the navel when in salah. Is the sunnah at least practiced when putting it beneath the navel under the chest? I don't understand that question. What does that mean? I have a Hanafi fiqh question. I got that bit. Far as I know, it is sunnah for men to place their hands below the navel when in salah. Got that bit. Is the sunnah at least practiced when putting it beneath the navel under the chest? Yeah. I'm confused. So if somebody understands that better than I've understood it, I'm a little bit confused. But yes, of course, it is sunnah to place the hands beneath the navel. Salam. Again, it's always assalamu alaikum. Salam means nothing. K, brother K. Can you clarify 4 questions on fasting? Do injections invalidate the fast? This will include vitamins, diabetics, painkillers, and into the flesh, muscle, or vein. Can you back up your opinion, please? I understand there are multiple opinions. I will be discussing this tomorrow, inshallah, about the use of what breaks and what nullifies and what does not nullify a fast. I did not understand that there were multiple opinions. Number 2, if one vomits less than a mouthful and swallows it, will it break the fast? If not, why not? Okay, again, that will be, inshallah, in tomorrow. Was it tomorrow? When is it? Yes, that will be in tomorrow's fiqh hour. Technically, can one break their fast at iftar by having marital relations? Yes, technically, one may break their fast at iftar by having marital relations. Number 4, some books mention food reaching the digestive system only. Others mention or reaching the brain. Where does the proof of it reaching the brain come from? Okay, again, we'll discuss that tomorrow, inshallah, because the theme tomorrow is on Ramadan. I've seen the 10th of February video, so I have my answer on the brain question and injections. Alhamdulillah. I've heard a chickpea mentioned in the book relates to a chickpea half the size of a chickpea today. May I request better timestamps in the video? Not all questions are written. And then to copy the list into a single blog post so we can search the list and see if the question have been asked before or discussed before. It would be nice if we could do that, Kay, but we're looking for volunteers at the moment. My team, mashallah, Allah bless them, are working their fingers to their bone in preparing these videos, also time stamping these videos. On top of that, they do shorts as well. So you'll see that they're putting shorts up. On top of that, they look after all our social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Insta, whatever. So they're posting there as well. And would you believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 people, alhamdulillah, doing that. So, and they've obviously got other things. They've got day jobs and other things as well. So, inshallah, they are trying to make this. They will eventually, what they will do is they will take each question and answer as a separate entity, and it will be there as a short. So it doesn't hurt, Kay, that you watch a video for an hour long, even if it's not exactly the answer you are looking for, because you will still learn ilm along the way. Don't forget, we take the time out to sit in front of you for an hour, and obviously the reading that we do beforehand in order to prepare these. So may Allah put more barakah in our time. Ameen. Okay, that's on the Markaz Lifta wal Qadha. So we up to date on questions there. Excellent. And there was a question also from the ladies. So let me pick up that question from the ladies. Regarding the sunnah dua when breaking one's fast, would saying Allahumma laka sumtu wa bika amantu wa ala rizqika aftartu wa bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin be against the sunnah, or should one just say Allahumma laka sumtu wa ala rizqika aftartu? I explained this to you yesterday. This dua is actually a statement made by a companion. It is from the marasil. It is mursal. The actual dua the Prophet ﷺ prayed was explained to you yesterday. And if you are on our channels, it will be shared with you on Tuesday, inshallah. So watch this space. Okay. The whitish, yellowish coating bacteria on the tongue, if that remains on the tongue during the time when one is fasting, is the fast still valid? If it can be tasted, smelled, or does it need to be scraped off? Scrapped off? No, it doesn't need to be scrapped off or scraped off. It is valid. I was told to buy dates by a groom for after his nikah. I was told to buy dates by a groom for after his nikah. After people ate the dates, I brought the remaining dates with me home. My question is, I don't remember at the time of buying these dates if I intended to give. I was told to buy dates by a groom for after his nikah. After people ate the dates, I brought the remaining dates with me home. My question is, I don't remember at the time of buying these dates if I intended to give the remaining dates to the groom. As I brought the dates, are they considered mine or do I have to give these away? If you don't remember at the time of buying the dates what you intended to do with them, how can I answer the question? Yeah, so go by what you intended to do, sister. Allah bless you. Where the Imam prays 8 rakats of Taraweeh when he is praying witr, can those being led in Salah pray the witr with the intention of Taraweeh? Well, if he's going to pray, that depends if he's going to pray 3 rakats or 2 rakats as witr. Obviously, there is no 3 rakats of Taraweeh. Possibly you can use it as a nafil if he's praying a wajib. But really, you should be going to a masjid in which they are praying the 20 rakats, so you're not stuck after 8, especially if you yourself do not know enough of the Quran to read yourself. And I'm sure there's plenty of massages. There are more masjids that do 20 rakats than there are that do 8. Where the women's prayer space is in the next building to the men's, will the woman's salah be valid when praying behind the imam? The key thing is that there is a reason why you are separate from the men, which is for obvious reasons. As long as you are aware of his actions, then the prayer will be valid. You've got to be aware of his actions. There is obviously the continuing of the saf to bear in mind. There's only a maximum of a road or something that one can have between them and the saf in front. However, because this is women praying, then if they're praying in another building, another room, then the salah will still be valid. So that's the ladies' questions done. We've got the chaps' questions done. So let's see what's come on here. Nothing come on here. So I will give you a couple of minutes, people, to see if you've got any questions. Whilst I'm giving you a couple of minutes, let me tell you what is going to be the theme for the next Fiqh Hour, which inshallah will be tomorrow, all being well. So the next Fiqh Hour, as we approach Ramadan, we will be speaking about Ramadan itself, the fast of Ramadan. What should be our niyyah? What are the nullifiers of the fast? Now we've got so many different novel medical interventions. What breaks a fast? What doesn't break a fast? What constitutes qadha only? What requires kafara and qadha? Similarly, we could discuss a little bit on fidya. Who should give fidya? Who shouldn't give fidya? Should we be waiting till we recover? Or can we just give fidya in return? So those will inshallah be the discussions for tomorrow's Fiqh Hour. Jazakumullah khairan. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. as you know, on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. So please do share the channels with your friends and family, and also share the videos with them as well so they can benefit. Bearing in mind, obviously, Ramadan is a time when we're a little bit more awake to Islam. We're a little bit more keen to learn and understand. So if you've got a family member who you want to bring towards the deen, then get them more involved in watching these. We've got now, I just checked before I came onto air, that we have nearly 500 videos on our YouTube channel, 500 videos. So there's enough material on there to keep you entertained for hours and hours and hours and hours without getting bored. And there's all sorts of topics on there. There's topics on atheism, evolution, Muslims as a minority, وغيره وغيره. Assalamu alaikum. Does an internal vaginal examination for medical reasons nullifies one's fast or break one's wudu? Would a ghusl be required? So, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Even though the view was historically that an internal vaginal examination would nullify a fast, however, we know from our understanding of biology that there is no direct link between the female's vagina and the stomach. As a result, because there is no link between the two, a internal vaginal examination would not nullify a woman's fast. However, because obviously there will be an insertion of, I don't know what it is going to be, whether it's fingers or some device that will be inserted into the woman's anatomy, then, and obviously there will be a discharge that a woman will have, then the wudu will be broken if she has wudu, obviously. If she hasn't, then it's not an issue. But a woman will not be required to do ghusl because obviously she will not orgasm or something in that process. So there is no ghusl required. So therefore, there is no ghusl, but there will be wudu required there. So let me give you 30 seconds or a minute in case you have some burning question which you are waiting to put forward. Otherwise, then I can bid you farewell on this Friday evening and look forward to seeing you, inshallah, tomorrow. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I did my homework about breaking wudu with vomiting. Excellent. That's good. I'm sure I gave you that homework 2 days ago. I checked Mukhtasar al-Quduri and vomiting on purpose does nullify. Oh, you've gone from wudu to fast there. Make your mind up. He said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I did my homework about breaking wudu with vomiting. Right? And then you said, I checked Mukhtasar al-Quduri and vomiting on purpose does nullify the fast. So we're talking about vomiting or fasting? You mean fasting? Okay. Is there any quantity that is relevant with this fasting situation, or no quantity does not matter whatsoever? Mouthful. So if you intentionally if you intentionally vomit and it's not a mouthful, does your fast not break? So there's two things. One is it does break, or it does not break. Just put a sentence, because no, saying yes or no is not going to help. You need to put a sentence, because I don't know what you're saying yes to or what you're saying no to. So just put exactly what I said. You know, is a mouthful a prerequisite? Is not a prerequisite? Is intentional, unintentional? So there's two things to consider here. One is intentional, unintentional, and the other is the quantity. So one is the near, and one is the quantity. Oh, I've got balloons flying around. What's all that about? Subhanallah. Mouthful, unintentional. I see. Okay, excellent. Well, we'll tell you if you're correct. Well, if you've read Mukhtasar al-Quduri, then you are correct, but we will tell you if you're actually correct. Ustaji will give the answer, inshallah, tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum and jazakallah. How should we respond to some who says Saudi are doing Ramadan on the wrong date, etc.? Are they wrong? Oh, Hestia Jones. I've always commented on your name, Hestia Jones. Right, okay, I'm going to give this in a very short version because this is going to be the topic for Sunday. So make sure you are here on Sunday, Hestia. So in terms of Saudi citing for Saudi, obviously it is correct, because the Qazi makes a decision, or the Crown Prince makes the decision based upon whatever. That's his job, and he decides tomorrow is Ramadan. For us here in the UK, then yes, there is a problem. Absolutely. there is a big problem. What we should be doing in the UK is like what everybody does in every other country in the world, is we should be trying to cite it ourselves. And before somebody says you can't cite it, I personally cited it several years ago for Ramadan from our madrasa in Bradford. So it is possible to cite it. It's just that nobody cares less. Everybody just sits at home, puts TV on, and watches people that pray Taraweeh at our Asr time, and then start texting everybody, or Ramadan Mubarak, when Ramadan hasn't started till after Maghrib. So it's jahiliyyah, it's ignorance. Okay, it's absolute ignorance. So we should be going by local citing. If we go by local citing, then there are certain scenarios in which we may not be able to cite locally. What do we do in those circumstances? Then we go to the nearest Muslim country. The nearest Muslim country is Morocco. You've got, for example, Pakistan closer to you got Pakistan closer to Saudi Arabia. Pakistan don't go by Saudi Arabia's citing. Pakistan go by their own. You got Bangladesh closer to Saudi Arabia than we are, and Bangladesh go by their own citing. You've got the Indian Muslims that are closer to Saudi Arabia than we are, and they go via their own sightings. And we decide to go by Saudi Arabia, which is like thousands of miles away. And Pakistan is usually a day after Saudi Arabia. The Indian Muslims are usually a day after Saudi Arabia. Bangladesh is usually a day after Saudi Arabia, sometimes 2 days after Saudi Arabia. So how can it be when these countries are neighbors to each other and they're at least a day or 2 days out, and we are all the way over here, and then we're on a northern latitude and we are on the same day? It just does not make sense. And because it's so wrong, that's why it does not make sense. So those of us that are in the UK, we should be going by UK citing because we are UK Muslims. And in the case where there's going to be problems due to citing, then we should go by the nearest Muslim country. That is the correct way. And I've written extensively on this. If you search my name and put moon sighting, you will get so much material. In fact, on this particular channel itself, there is so much material, you will, vomit a mouthful or more because you'll get so sick and tired of it. If someone swallows water accidentally while making wudu, do they make up the wudu? Hey? Either I'm losing my mind or people are writing strange questions to me these days. If someone swallows water accidentally whilst making wudu, do they make up the wudu? I've got a feeling this is make up the fast. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Yes, they will have to make up the fast because their fast is broken. Hestia Jones, it's not my real name. Sorry. Jazakallah for answering all my questions. No problem at all. Ameen. I'm just, okay, now you got me really curious, okay? Why would you choose that name then? Okay, answer that for me, because I'm now really curious. Like, where do you get that name from? I've never heard of it. Yep, I was right. Fast hour. Does it break the fast, and should one make up the fast? That's correct. One has to make up the fast. Secondly, at school, of a Muslim child says, free Palestine, and there is also an Israeli child at school who gets offended, how as a teacher can this issue be resolved? Well, what you have to explain to the child, obviously, is that that's not really the appropriate thing to be doing, shouting at school. Because obviously there are, this is the children. You're not here to make political statements. What is this, a primary school or what? You're not here to make political statements. You're here to learn. You're here to study. And we have to understand that we have to have discipline, that each thing has its place in its place. And a place of school is a place of learning. Yes, a primary school. So, this is ridiculous. So, this isn't appropriate, because obviously if now the child starts to say other things about Israel, now you've got this young child there. Now, this young child who's an Israeli child, they've not actually, supported anything which is going on in Gaza. They're just a kid I think you're in Holland. So they're just a kid in Holland. So, this is like an Israeli child, a Muslim child who I'm assuming is either Moroccan or Pakistani in Holland, and talking about something which is going on across the world. So, there is some level of, so you need to explain to the child that, look, this is not the appropriate place to do it. There are people here that will feel uncomfortable with that, who don't necessarily support what's going on. And therefore, you live in a multicultural society in Holland, in the Netherlands, and therefore we have to all get along. and therefore there is a time and a place of how you can raise your concerns and raise your issues. But shouting free, free Palestine in a primary school, it's not that the Israeli army is going to say, oh, hold on a second here, guys. Did you hear that? A child in a primary school in Netherlands said we should free, free Palestine. So yeah, we're going to do that. So there's a little bit of common sense here that what our children can potentially get involved in. Sorry, I am unwell. Yep, primary school. Hester Jones is a character in a storybook. I made a YouTube account. Okay, mashallah. Excellent. Thank you for that. My curiosity has now been satisfied. I guess the only thing that needs satisfying now is my stomach, inshallah. But that will also be satisfied in due course. Okay, so we snuck in a few more questions just as I was waving the flag to say, let's call it a night, but we had squeezed a few more in. So inshallah, I will give another 30 seconds or so in case there are some other burning questions that need responding to. When a woman remarries, does she need a permission if she chooses to live with a child from a previous husband? When a woman remarries, does she need permission? Permission from who? Does she need permission if she chooses to live with a child from a previous husband? Yeah. That sentence is a bit confusing. If you could just elaborate on that point, please. Permission from who? Permission from the second husband, or permission from who is she taking permission from? So she has been married. She has a child from her first marriage, and now she wants to remarry. And when she remarries, she wants to take the child with her. So who is she seeking permission from? From her second husband? Is that what she's seeking permission from? First husband. Well, in Islam, the way what is advised is when the child is young, sort of below the age of 7, then they should be in the mother's company, mother's experience. But when the mother chooses to remarry, then obviously it does open up other possibilities, because the father, you see, the new husband, it's not his responsibility to raise this child now, because this child is not his. It is the father's responsibility to raise a child. And this is where things get now confusing, because how is he going to provide maintenance to his child when that child is living with another man? So, is he paying his bills? And it gets a little bit sort of more confusing in that situation. So yes, it would probably be an idea to speak to the first husband and see what his ideas are with the arrangement for the child, and what he's happy in doing and happy in not doing, and have that conversation with him, because it is his child. As much as obviously there is, particularly within sort of Western society, it is deemed usually favorably towards the mother. But from a Sharia perspective, it is the father who is responsible for the child, and the child takes the father's name rather than the mother's name. So, if you look at the names, it'll be Ibni, and his son of so and so. So yes, you would need to have that conversation there to determine how best to provide the love and support for this child until they become baligh. And after baligh, obviously the child can choose where they want to be, but always bear in mind that it is always challenging when there is another man. Obviously, when he gets married, he's gonna want children, and therefore this child then feels a little bit awkward that he's not really fully included within the family, because of the fact that this man is not his father. Yes, this woman is his mother, but this man is not his father. So that conversation needs to take place. Yes, what I will do, inshallah, is I will raise that conversation about custody in maybe not in tomorrow, because custody is quite a lengthy conversation. It would have been probably useful to discuss it during the marriage discussion we have. But I think custody is a useful topic. So what we will do is we have Nafal on Monday. So maybe I can discuss custody on Tuesday, inshallah. So at least we have a theme for that. So we can cover that on Tuesday. So Tuesday, inshallah, all being well, sister, because we've got a couple of minutes to go now. Is if you can tune in for the fiqh hour on Tuesday, then we will discuss about custody, about what age goes to which parent, at what age do they transfer over to the other parent, what is the mother responsible for, what is the father responsible for. As I said, it's preferable that this is amicably discussed and agreed. But when people start demanding their rights, then obviously it goes down that road. But again, one is how we, as Muslims, we should obviously be adhering to the Sharia, but you tend to find then people start to use local laws or national laws in order to get what they want or get what they need. So that's something that we just got to be a little bit concerned about. Is it also Islamic to ask for spousal support after divorce? No. Once a woman has been divorced and she has done her iddah, then that's it. The first husband has no responsibility for this woman at all. Marriage is based upon the fact that the man provides a house, the man provides clothing, the man provides food, the man provides intimacy. And the woman, when she gets all of these things, in return provides intimacy to him and obviously looks after him in the sense of, looking after his property and things like that. Once the marriage is over and the iddat is over, she has no ties to this man whatsoever, and he has no ties to this woman whatsoever. All they have linking them is the child, and that's it. Otherwise, these two are complete strangers again. It will be good if we consider both law of land, Islamic Sharia about this topic. It will be helpful. Yeah, it depends, you see, because we get people from all over the world. So it's very difficult to discuss the law of the land, depending on which country you're in. Like you're based in the Netherlands. I don't really know the law in the Netherlands, so I cannot comment on that. But I will discuss the Sharia as to what the Sharia is, and that's how Muslims are supposed to adhere by, according to the Sharia, wherever they are. Because those Muslims who want to live by Allah's laws have to abide by that. If you choose a law other than Allah's law, then obviously that's something which is of a concern, isn't it? That you've preferred another law over Allah's laws. And usually when people prefer other laws over Allah's laws, it's because it's an advantage to them. And that's why they choose other laws over Allah's laws. And when Allah's laws are in their favor, then they choose Allah's laws. So they're not really following Allah's laws they're following their own desires and whims. So that's one thing that people have to be very, very careful about, is what they're actually following. Are they following Islam, or are they following whatever suits and whatever is of benefit to them? Okay, last 30 seconds, and we have now actually reached 8 o'clock. So technically I can now dissipate into the darkness, but I'll give it 30 seconds in case there's some last burning question. Otherwise, then inshallah, we will return. As I said, tomorrow it's going to be about nullifiers of fasts and all things to do with fasting. Sunday, we're going to have like a live feed going, inshallah, as I get updates from different parts of the world, if whether the hilal has been seen or not. And also, obviously, Maghrib is just before we come live. So we may be receiving reports from the UK. So I will be sharing those with you if we do get any reports from the UK. And then, inshallah, normally we make an announcement. It might be that I make the announcement whilst we're still on air, or it might be that I make the announcement with my colleagues after we go off air. And also, I'll share with you my schedule for Ramadan. So if you need to know when to tune in for fiqh hour or the rest of it, you've got that as well, inshallah. and that will be Saturday, Sunday. As then we move into next week, I will discuss next week with you. And that 30-second little outro has meant no questions have come in. So that is a perfect opportunity for me to quickly disappear before a question does drop in the inbox. On that note, wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.